Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So we're coming back to Dragon Link. As I mentioned during our last deck profile of Pearly yesterday, we are going to be tackling decks this season, starting with the ones that have been most impacted by the ban list, and then kind of working our way down. So Pearly losing a Delicious Memory was obviously a pretty huge hit. And this deck losing a Chaos Space as well as a copy of Quick Launch, losing these two cards, or one copy of each rather, ends up being a bigger hit than I anticipated, especially for a build with a low main deck count like mine. Actually, before we get into this, I just want to reiterate something I said during the last deck profile as well, which is that I actually played these games we're about to see, as well as the Pearly games you saw yesterday if you watched that video. I actually played them live on a stream, so if you're interested in catching the full stream, you can go ahead and check the VOD out. It's currently up on my Twitch and will also be up shortly after on my second YouTube channel, Hexlex Plays. Links to both my Twitch and second YouTube channel are in the description below. And if you also want to catch these games live when I go live, you'll definitely want to follow and or subscribe over on Twitch to get notifications of when I go live, which I do typically 3 to 4 times a week. But in any case, so Dragon League, I didn't think this was going to be like, honestly, you know, I say we're doing the decks that are most impacted to the least, but with Dragon League's ban list changes, I really didn't think they were going to be that impactful at all, right? Yeah, we're losing a little bit of consistency on having one less copies of these spells, but I figured, like, that won't really change the flow of the deck overall, right? And actually, I was wrong. Particularly for, again, a smaller kind of 40-card build like this. I say smaller because Dragon Link builds do tend to be usually in the neighborhood of about 45 cards. And I think this is actually a build where we could stand to be playing more gas, honestly, and maybe even going above 40 in that regard. I say maybe even. I mean, it's very much a me thing that I like 40-card decks, but to me, Dragon Link, along with Branded, is kind of one of those decks where, like, you can play any number of cards, really, between 40 and 60, and, like, you'll probably do fine, honestly, playing this deck. But I did notice with this build that we had a number of hands, even in a small sample size, that just seemed to be too much disruption. That did seem to be the issue with hands that were dead. It's just, like, not enough gas. And, again, I think it is actually the impact of losing the one Chaos Space and the one Quick Launch that is resulting in this, because I think we threw in, like, well, obviously I didn't, like, one for one just swap out the builds. I actually don't know how obvious that is. Let me go back here real quick and show you something. So when a new ban list drops, especially a major one, I delete all of my decks. I literally delete every single one of them, and then I rebuild them from scratch. I don't like taking out one card and then putting in one card to sub. Like, that is one of the more common deck building questions I get, is, like, especially when a ban list comes around, is people being like, okay, so I took out the Chaos Space and the Quick Launch, what do I put in? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't build decks like that. I don't like building decks like that, because then I think you end up with a Ship of Theseus issue, where you're, like, swapping in and out so many individual pieces that your overall deck is going to lose cohesion and synergy if you do that. So I like to just rebuild decks from scratch. That way, the ratios are all balanced. I know they're right. I know I'm not randomly forgetting something or randomly cutting off a line because I took out one card that I wasn't really thinking about, you know. We get to just start over with a clean slate and make sure that our whole deck just kind of, like, works, you know. So, yeah, like I said, for this build, I definitely would like some more gas. I'm trying to think of what I would play, honestly. Like, you could play more Bystials if you wanted, but, like, really, I think the issue and what I needed was more, like, level 4 or lower dragons. So, like, maybe that's the Red Eyes package with, like, the Black Metal Dragon. Maybe that's, like, Rokket Synchron. Even maybe in addition to Rokket Caliber, which we are playing again. It could be any number of things, but I do think that a build like this, the build like that I have right here anyway, needs more gas. Again, particularly level 4 or lower dragons is what I found myself kind of missing out on. But I'm just kind of going with a pretty generic list here. Not anything too irregular that I'm doing. I did throw in a Nibiru, mostly because I was already kind of, not committed, but I knew I was going to play Crossout Designator, and I was at a point where I just needed a 40th card, and so I kind of just threw in a Nib. I do kind of wish I would have thrown in, again, more gas instead, but, I mean, I think the option to not only have it for your opponent's plays, of course, again, be able to cross it out, it's not too shabby. So it's like you could definitely be playing worse cards. We're definitely rocking 2 Collapserpent. I said this last time we covered Dragon Link. And there were some responses that were kind of like, oh, you know, sometimes you only need to play 1 because of, like, deck space or, like, I don't know. I had people, because, like, one of my main questions of my last Dragon Link deck profile is, like, why would you only ever play 1 Collapserpent? And, like, people gave some answers that were like, I guess I can kind of see where you're coming from, but ultimately, as far as, like, consistency, and not just consistency, but being able to maintain advantage and continuously grab more copies of like Wyverburster and or Collapser. Like, I just think playing the second Collapser, right, it feels like a no-brainer to me, right? Especially now that the ban list has like taken away some of our chaos-based search targets, or not chaos-based search targets, it's like taken away one of our chaos spaces. We need more search targets for it. So I think if you weren't playing 2 Collapserpent, the time has absolutely come to play a second Collapserpent. But I'm not Trishula, I'm not a Dragon Link expert by any means, so I'm just gleaming off of my knowledge of the deck from when I play it, which is not the most often, admittedly, and also playing against it as well. So, as far as the extra deck, we're not doing anything special at all. It's a very straight up extra deck. We're not playing. It's funny. I said during the stream yesterday, I was like, "Oh, you know, Dragon Link. I don't consider myself like that good of a Dragon Link player at all." And someone in chat was like, "You don't play Dillingerous Dragon, so you're already better than a lot of Dragon Link players." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fair." But yeah, for those who are still playing Dillingerous, don't. You should be playing Triple Burst instead, because the Dillingerous forces you to Dark Lock, and the Triple Burst, you can do your main combo without being Dark Locked. So, and you also don't have to use your second Striker Dragon, which you do if you play Dillingerous. If you do that combo line, you have to do both Strikers in your turn 1 combo. But again, if you're doing the Triple Burst, that's not the case. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything there is to cover about this list. Like I said, it's a fairly standard list, but I also like starting with a standard list, especially for a deck I don't know as well as certain others, right? Rather than playing like all the fancy engines or tech, I like to start with like a kind of basic, here's the list, like here's something to get a general feel for the deck, and then we can add fancy techs later once we have a better understanding of how the deck operates in the current metagame, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say. Let's go ahead and break this list down card by card, and then we'll see some games. We are on 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 White Dragon Wyverburster, 2 Black Dragon Collapserpent, 2 Rokket Tracer, 1 Rokket Recharger, 3 Starliege Seyfert, 1 Rokket Caliber, 1 Bystial Magnmahut, 2 Bystial Saronir, 1 Bystial Druiswarm, 1 Bystial Baldrake, 1 Absorouter Dragon, 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer, 2 the Bystial Lubellion, 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 2 Chaos Space, 1 Dragon Ravine, 1 Boot Sector Launch, 1 Branded Regained, 2 Quick Launch, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, and then 1 Branded Beast. That's going to be our main deck. For the extra deck, we are on 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Guardragon Pisty, 2 Striker Dragon, 1 Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, 2 Dragunity Knight Romulous, 1 Dragunity Knight Romulus, my apologies, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dharc the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Triple Burst Dragon, 1 Knightmare Unicorn, 1 Accesscode Talkder, and then finally 1 Borreload Dragon. There is our list. Let's go see some games. Alright, let's start off with the game against Mathmech. For the last deck profile for Pearly, I just kind of went in the order we played the games in. I'll just kind of bounce around, I think, on this one. We'll just kind of do it in a random order. Alright, so we're going to be playing, like I said, against Mathmech here. We're going to be taking the second turn. Our hand's looking pretty good, though. I mean, we've got an Ash Blossom, and against Mathmech in particular, the Bystials are, of course, particularly good. So we also have some plays for our turn. We have the Wyverburster and the Call by and Crossout to help insulate. Opponent starts off, funnily enough, by leading with the Ghost Spell, but it looks like they have to in order to go into the Mathmech edition. They then get to link off the Ghost Spell into Almirage. Almirage plus addition, then allowing them to go into the Splash Mage. This is why I like Almirage, even if you're not playing Parallel Exceed. I still think it's very much worth it for this exact interaction. So, good move on my opponent's part here. They're going to use the Splash Mage and the addition in order to go into the Heat Soul, looks like here. Definitely not going to use Ash Blossom on the Heat Soul draw. Even on my turn, I'm not going to do it. I'd rather just wait and see if they have like a Maxx or something. So here, unfortunately for me, because my opponent's hand was like kind of wonky, they didn't actually end up putting a light or a dark monster in the graveyard. So I was just kind of like, okay, so much for actually having plays. Again, like the going into like Wyverburster is kind of predicated on managing to get my Saronir in the graveyard, but yeah, and the Absorouter top deck doesn't really do a whole lot, so I'm just gonna have to set call by and cross out and then pass here. This is like kind of one of those hands I was talking about, although to be fair, this might just be more of like a, I don't know, I will say that my sample size was definitely too small for asserting whether or not we definitely need more gas, but because like there are a lot of cards in this hand I would define generally as gas, like Wyverburster and Saronir, and in some cases Absorouter, but like, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of thought that we might need something else. I don't know here. So I ended up using the call by on the code generator here to make sure that's not going to foolish another Cyberus monster. I probably didn't need to do that, but like I could have used Ash Blossom instead and then used the call by on the transcode target, but yeah, that actually definitely would have been the better play in hindsight. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I'll take some damage here. I'll take quite a bit of damage, but it's not lethal. Pretty much any damage that's not lethal to me is just like quote-unquote some damage, right? But we're going to finally rip Tracer, so that's like the best card we possibly could have top deck. Still not using Ash Blossom. I'll wait and see if they have a Maxx. So I'm going to activate Tracer, and then I'll flip up Crossout, calling Nib. I'm mainly doing this so that way I can Tracer on the Crossout here. But it's going to have an Imperm, which will negate both the Tracer and the Crossout, so you know, it is what it is. But honestly, as long as we can just get the Tracer in the graveyard, actually we don't even need to do that just yet, because now we have Absorouter we can summon, and also the Bystial Saronir we can throw down too, because now they have a light monster in the yard. Here is that Ash Blossom for the Maxx, just like I was saving it for, but my opponent will have a called by here. So even though my Crossout on the Nibiru fizzled, I'm still going to just go for it. I'm still just going to try to push for lethal here. I think that generally speaking, it is best to do this, right? Oh, we also get to use the Baronne here. Baronne de Fleur. Unfortunately for me, though, the Baronne, I try to pop the back row, is actually going to end up getting impermed, so I will not have an Omnigate for this turn. So my point still stands. We kind of have to play into this Maxx with the possibility of my opponent drawing Nibiru, but here's the thing, right? I actually don't mind most of the time playing into a Maxx if I have the ability to attack for lethal. Like, if I know I can find lethal, right? Which I'm very confident I can here. Because, like, you know, the thing is, even giving your opponent, like, 2 or 3 draws, if you're not setting up lethal on them, and especially if you're allowing them to keep a board like this one, like we would have to here, it's just not worth it. I would much rather just, because you're going to lose the duel if you do that. You're like, more times than not, you're going to lose the duel. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to lose the duel, I'm going to make my opponent nib me, right? And a lot of people don't play Nibiru, especially in this meta. Like, it's actually kind of debatable, in my opinion, right now, how good Nibiru honestly is in the grand scheme of things. Because, like, you got Pearly, which almost never triggers it. You got Vanquish Soul, which almost never triggers it. You got Lab, which almost never triggers it. Like, yeah, it's fine against Mathmech and Dragon Link, but, like, a lot of the time, Mathmech and Dragon Link can just play through the Nibiru anyway. It's like, you know, the decks that are susceptible to Nibiru right now, it's not like before where you would have, like, Sword Soul, right? Sword Soul, like, always has to do 5 summons to do a full combo line, and even then, they are not really able to play through or around Nibiru while doing that combo line unless they open a very specific hand. Mathmech and Dragon Link, however, are not necessarily the same. They can play through Nibiru with a lot of different hands, especially if the Mathmech player is on Link Spider, then they can pretty much always play through the Nibiru, almost no matter what. And Dragon Link often just has so much gas, so my whole kind of thing right now with Nibiru is, like, I kind of just don't fear it. Again, it is situationally dependent, but generally speaking, like for this game, for example, like I said, yeah, we're just going to go for it. And if we actually, I don't usually show the opponent's list in the game itself, but if we look at our opponent's list here, we find they're actually not on Nibiru, because a lot of people really don't have the room for it. Like, if you look at the use rate statistics for Nibiru right now, it's 40%, which means that more people than not on ladder are not playing the Nibiru. So That's why I, again, generally speaking, don't mind playing into the Maxi if I know I can swing in for lethal. As always as ever, with all these situations, it's so situationally dependent on your hand, your matchup, what the board state is like, etc. But here in this situation, I think we could have definitely gone for it, and we did, and we won. So, yay. That's going to go ahead and do it for that game. Let's go into the next one here. Okay, for our next duel, let's see our game against tier limits. Tier limits, tier limits, tier limits. Seems to be a relatively pure build. They're on, like, double snow. They've got the Supreme Sea Mares, the Destrudo, all that fun stuff. So, going first, and yet again, an opening hand that does not really have that much gas in it. It is, in fact, going to be pretty much all disruption. So, my Lubellion's gonna get Ash Blossomed, which, okay, this was such a never punished moment for my opponent. Don't Ash Blossom Lubellion, y'all, pretty much ever, right? Actually, I think this opponent might end up having Imperm in their hand, which would be the only reason I could see them using the Ash on the Lubellion here, but generally speaking, if your only interaction point is Ash Blossom, like if your only disruption in your hand is Ash Blossom, and your opponent discards the Lubellion, even as the first action of the game, it's not right to Ash Blossom it. Dragon Link has much better Ash targets. Branded obviously has far better Ash targets. Even obscure decks like Sprite Synchro have better Ash targets. Like, literally any deck that plays Lubellion, it's kind of like Prosperity, right? I don't use Ash Blossom on Prosperity. Actually, I'm going to pause here because I'm going to talk about this interaction too. I don't use Ash Blossom on Prosperity because any deck that plays Prosperity has a better Ash target. The same is true of Lubellion. Now, here it ended up being right because my hand was bad, but that doesn't make it right in general. So, opponent's going to reveal the Chiron, and I'm going to use my own Ash Blossom in response. There are two main reasons that I'm doing this. One, I have two Ash Blossoms in my hand, so ideally I would like to be able to use the extra disruption now while I can. Two, even if my opponent is able to continue on from this point, we still have a Maxi and a Baldrake, so it's not like we don't have more disruption. So, plus, honestly, against tier limit, I think Chiron often is the best Ash target. If you Ash Blossom a Chiron, and that actually ended my opponent's turn here, but if you Ash Blossom a Chiron, you deny the body on the board, you deny the card getting sent from the hand to the graveyard, which can often matter, and you also deny the mill 3. That's three very important things that tier limit wants all of those to happen that you get to deny with one Ash Blossom. So, again, against tier limit, I think Chiron ends up being one of the better Ash targets. Get to use my second Ash Blossom on my opponent's Maxi here. They did end up having the Imperm, which, again, this, to me, makes a little bit more sense why you would Ash Blossom the Lubellion, because you can Imperm the Romulous for the Ravine, but I still think it's a risky play, honestly. Alright, so I'm going to summon the Baldrake here, and then swap it out for Lubellion. We'll use Lubellion's effect for the Regained, and then enter Battle Phase. Although, you know what? Let me think about something for a moment here. Why? Oh, because they Impermed it. I was like, why would I not have used Striker's effect to wheel the Tracer back to my hand? It's because I don't have Boot Sector, and also because it's got Imperms. I don't have my Boot Sector because it got Imperms, so. But here, yeah, I'm just going to battle and then go Sphere's Pass. Again, we still have the Maxi, so. And we know, yeah, our opponent's going to try to Chiron at the start of the turn, so. We know it's going to be live as well. Alright, thankfully they don't have a Disrupt for my Maxi. Chiron is going to pitch the Destrudo. Levianeer, not a bad draw at all. Going to use the Branded Regain to summon my Baldrake. They're going to try to battle over the seals, or the spheres, rather. I'm going to grab Magnmahut here and not Druiswarm. The reason I'm getting Magnmahut, actually two main reasons. One, my hand is very low and does not inherently have live plays. So I'm going to need live plays, so I'm going to use my Magnmahut in order to make sure that I have them. Two, Druiswarm might normally be good with Baldrake, but not necessarily against tier limits. So that's why I grabbed Magnmahut here. Opponent's going to follow up main phase 2 by using the Rhinoheart to send the Havness. Havness F will proc to shuffle itself and the Chiron back. Or sorry, and the Supreme Sea Mare back. The Chiron is in hand, that's right. For Kiklos, this will give me another Maxi draw, and I'm going to use Baldrake here, and let's just banish the Kiklos and be done with it. Not have to deal with it anymore. Alright, there goes Kit, and they are going to add the Havness. That's fine, I don't care. And then they just concede anyway. Because, like, the have this in hand is not nearly as scary as it used to be, right? Milling 3 random cards into your limits is not nearly as scary as it used to be. Because, like, I know they have to hit one of the 2 Shirens with that Haveness. If they don't, they're not going to have anything. So, I mean, they could, in theory, if they were playing it, hit, like, in a Shizu Shuffler. They are playing Snow. They could hit that. But it's, like, it's definitely not tier limit. the mill 3 from tier limit does not at all have the same weight that it once did. That's for sure. Got a couple more games to see. Let's go into the next one here. Okay, I gotta show this next game for one moment specifically. I already talked about this game on Twitter. We're playing against Pearly Flaunderies. And no, not one or the other. I didn't misspeak. Our opponent is playing both Pearly and Flaunderies in the same deck. So we're going to be going second and actually have yet another hand that does not have live plays by itself. Wow, that happened a lot more than I realized, didn't it? Well, I think we are just playing much too few gas. That did not make sense at all. But anyway, we're definitely not playing enough gas is what I'm getting at here. So I'm just going to draw phase Pretty Memory. I'm going to chain the Maxx. And they actually don't end up summoning. And I'm like, okay, they just really didn't want to give me a draw that badly. Okay, that makes sense. So they're going to activate Jack in the hand. And it's funny, if you go back and watch the stream VOD, I actually make a comment of like, oh, opponent, just because Pearly is at 2 doesn't mean you need to play Jack in the hand. It's fine. But we're going to be seeing some pretty unexpected things here. So they activate Jack in the hand, right? They reveal Naturia Mole Cricket, Flaunderies Rabina, and Perlily. What is this Jack in the hand reveal? I saw these 3 and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So I'm like, okay. As soon as I see this, I'm like, at least one of these is a red herring. There's no way my opponent is on all 3 of these strategies in like a 48 card deck. It is, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 48 card deck. So I'm like, okay, they already revealed the Pretty Memory. So I think they're on Pearly and they're just playing Mole Cricket and Rabina to be cute. That was my suspicion. So I'm going to take the Pearly for myself here. Then they normal summoned Rabina, and I was like, whoa. Opponent. What are you doing? Stop. I'm going to activate Ash Blossom. And I was like, oh my god, that was scary. I did not expect that normal summoned Rabina to actually, like, lead to something. So I think what my opponent's doing here, beyond just the really cute Jack in the hand reveal, it's also pretty gross how good my hand is against my opponent now that I've top decked this Chaos Space. Like, it's actually just disgusting how good this hand became, but I think what my opponent's doing is they're using Pearly cards as Ash bait to make sure that their Flaunderies plays go through. We'll look at their deck. We've actually done this twice in this video, and again, I don't normally do this, but I want to show off their deck, and again, I posted this on Twitter too, but somebody on stream actually said they have a Royal Eagle, so they're just playing Flu and everything, but if you look at the list, this is not a Pearly deck that's playing Flu cards. This is a Flu deck that's playing Pearly cards. And again, it looks to me like they're playing the cards as Ash bait. Is that what Pot of Avarice is too? But how do we even make Pot of... I didn't even realize this was in the list here at first. Why is Pot of Avarice in here? That doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. But yeah, we're playing the one of Mole Cricket as a red herring off Jack in the hand, which was cute. That was really cute. If nothing else, you know, my opponent here is absolutely an innovator, and we love to see that. But anyway, I want to show off this list again because even though that was a very short game, it was still one heck of a roller coaster. I'll tell you that. We got one more duel to show off. Let's go into that here. And our last opponent is going to be on something that I can only really describe as Warrior Link. Like, as in what dragons are to Dragon Link, my opponent's deck is Warriors to Warrior Link. Like, they're just on, like, a warrior pile. You'll see here in a moment, but we're going to go second here. They're going to start with E Emergency Call for the Solid Soldier. Normal summon Solid Soldier, and then special the Stratos. I'm like, okay, here I'll use Ash Blossom. I'm like, this is a weird hero line, but I guess I'll Ash here. It's really weird to know when to use Ash against heroes. It's so situationally dependent. But then they end up linking the Super Soldier and Stratos for the Isold, which I was like, okay, this is not a regular hero deck. They end up adding the Neos here, the Royal, very pretty Neos, sending Oh no, they're adding that off of the Super Soldier, I think, yeah. And the Isold is going to summon the Infernoble Knight card. This one, yeah, using the Infernoble arms. Okay, yeah, and you know your opponent's on a warrior pile when Fire Flint Lady comes down. Alright, here is the Blaze Man adding the Poly. Poly's being activated to fuse the Blaze Man with the Neos that was added off of, I think that, again, that was Super Soldier for the Sunrise. Elemental Hero Sunrise F activating in order to grab, of course, the Miracle Fusion. Now we're going to link off the Isold and the Sunrise in order to go for the Cross Sheep. I'm actually going to throw this in fast forward because my opponent's turn 1 is quite extensive here. Miracle Fusion for a second Sunrise. Cross Sheep F, bring back Stratos. Stratos F, add Liquid Soldier. Cardahan, we're pitching Cardahan. We're linking for World Sea Dragon Zealantis. Super Soldier brings back Stratos to add the Spirit of Neos. We overlay for Starring Knight, which special summons the Spirit of Neos, which adds the instant contact. Instant contact for Marine Dolphin here. Marine Dolphin ripping the Lubellion from my hand. Before they link off for Appaloosa, and that's going to be the end of their turn. So it was a lot of... You know what, to be fair, I did have the Ash Blossom for Disruption, though. I mean, it only stopped one Stratos Search, so I don't know what else my opponent would have been able to do with that, but... Yeah, it was a lot of playing to end on Zealantis plus a 4-material Apo, but unfortunately for me, the 4-material Apo, I'm going to keep the rest of this game and fast forward, because it's really going to be a lot of the same of my stuff just getting negated by this Appaloosa here, right? And unfortunately for me, I don't have a way to chain block the Absorouter I send off of the Ravine. It also sucks too because I don't have like a Bystial monster I can even summon here to try to battle over the Appaloosa. Well, the thing too is I can't even really try to battle over Appaloosa because of the Zealantis, right? It'll just blow up my field if I try to battle, so it's just really awkward all around. Like I said, my opponent's deck I would definitely classify as Warrior Link. If my deck is Dragon Link, my opponent's deck is definitely Warrior Link. And again, even though I can summon the Wyverburster here, I still can't battle into the Apo because of Zealantis' effect. They are going to end up leaving me at 100 here, but it's not like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to find a top deck. So I think I just summon this Ash Blossom, and yeah, I top deck Crossout. Yeah, I'm just going to normal summon Ash Blossom and swing in myself for lethal there. So that was a pretty cool game. I wanted to keep that game because I thought my opponent's deck was neat, and you know, it definitely does not hurt to show losses as well as wins. But looking at all those hands that we had there, it's definitely apparent that this deck needs more gas. So I think you have to be playing more now that the Quick Launch and Chaos Space are gone, and I think you probably do need to be on more than 40 cards just playing additional gas, because I liked the amount of disruption we had. I just wish we had more plays to accompany them. But in any case, that'll do it for these games. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Let us move now to our outro. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the very end. That means a whole lot to me, and it's also a fantastic way to support the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways besides YouTube, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you check out the description below, you'll find a bunch of links down there. One of them goes to my Patreon. You're actually seeing the names of everyone subscribed to the Patreon on the screen right now. So if you're interested in getting your name in the credits here at the end, if you want to see more daily Master Duel content, or if you're interested in one-on-one private coaching sessions, I offer all of that on Patreon. I also stream live on Twitch. Feel free to go ahead and click that link and follow and or subscribe there. I also have the Discord community, if you want to follow that link, where hundreds of duelists have already signed up. Free to join, and you can just come hang out, talk about the game, and chill in general. Final link that's going to be in the description is my Twitter. You can follow that if you want some more notifications of what's happening with the channel. So, all in all, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.